Hello guys, ZiggyNo here, talking a little bit more about sports card breaking. This video is response to the ESPN article that was out, the controversial rise and uncertain future of box breaks. I pride myself in reading a lot of stuff that's out there and consuming as much content. And I want to go over this with you because there's a lot of stuff that stands out to me. First of all, I applaud the author. I think he did a good job. There's a lot of content in here. It's hard to keep someone's interest. I'm going to hit you with the high points, but I think you should take away from this. Um, I just don't feel like it does justice. At the same time, I don't think it's that harmful. I thought people thought it would be more harmful. It definitely isn't as negative as I thought it could be. It's personally, it's it's Here's some things I find that are interesting. It does focus on Leighton and goes around Leighton and a little bit about him. I think it paints him in an interesting light. Rich Leighton. I think of sports card breaking. I think to me, I think of there were three, four, five major breakers back in the day. Leighton's one of them. Platinum's another one. Mojo's one of them. Fire Hands is probably another one of them. Oh, there's a couple I'm forgetting. There's so many. It's interesting his perspective. I would break with Leighton back in 2015, 16, and 17. So I've seen their growth. Stop breaking with them. I started breaking them, by the way, for two reasons. Number one, they had the best prices, and number two, their breaks always filled, and they always went as scheduled. Other breaks at the time didn't break until they filled, and it could take weeks before the breaks filled. These guys had their registered list, and every night the break would fill. And I always wondered why that was. I later found out why their breaks always filled and why their prices were always better. Not important here, and nothing bad either. Just that they were part of the inside network. They had access to stuff that no one else had, and that's I think the key here. Later on, you'll hear about this in the story. Here are the things that I want to bring to your attention. He goes through talking mainly the story here is about the Luca 101 that was pulled and how when it's pulled, I think Leighton makes a comment that's like a $10,000 card, and later on it gets sold for one of the most expensive cards and breaks a record of $4.7 million. Now, it's just interesting. One thing I want to point out here that I think is important, if you want to look at box breaking, that card did not sell for $4 million. It took a time, hype, and a lot of things had to happen. His estimate $10,000, interesting, bold, I guess. But I don't want you to think that just because he said like everything he says turns to gold. I guess that's kind of one of the feelings I didn't like. I did like this part. They talk about the inventor of the box break. I don't know if this is right or wrong. I don't know who this guy is, Dr. Waxbattle. I've heard the name. I listen to Mojo and Jaspy a lot. I don't know if they've referred to him. They could probably, back this up or not. And I don't think they would disagree. I don't think it's important here. I think what's important is what's left out of this is why breaking came to be. Before this guy made it popular online, though, I do think people were splitting and sharing boxes a lot before. In fact, I remember watching videos of the national. I want to say 2015, 2010, somewhere in there, where guys were buying boxes and they were doing breaks outside the national, where they'd split the money and each guy would pay much. And say, you got this team, you got that team, and they did a break that way. So breaking, in my opinion, started even earlier. I think it then with social media, it took off as something to be interested to watch. Now, a psychologist talks about this later on, is it's the anticipation of what could be in there and what will happen, and how do people respond. Like, in fact, one thing I talk about breaks, sometimes you're cheering for and sometimes you're cheering against the break. Like if you, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but there's a psychology of breaking that I know is why it's addictive. And I think that's important. So I don't like, well, I appreciate they're talking about where breaking started, but here's what will bother me. I think the most talks about here is about people becoming multimillionaires. Mr. Beast, some other guy, taking off with his popularity. And again, I think this feeds towards the multimedia phase. People want to consume video, anticipation, likes. Um, Talks about boxes and being able to buy a piece of a box. Here's a $27,000 box, and each person gets a box price for $430. I've been in several transcendent breaks. I know exactly what that's like. Things to think about with that is, are you getting anything? Are you taking a chance? See, and most of those, you get something. You're guaranteed something out of those box breaks. I don't think they did a good job explaining the difference between that and these random. In fact, one of the comments here is that most breaks are random. I don't think that's the case. I would say most breaks are either assigned or they're called PYT breaks. Random is probably, in my opinion, the worst, but not always the worst. I understand what happens, but it's so interesting how they generalize that in this article. Um, Eric Whiteback found this interesting. Comes out and says it's only a matter of time for other companies join TikTok and forbid live breaks and regulations become reality. I know TikTok put them some constraints in, but I don't think they did much as far as banning breaks. I think they're trying to ban the mystery packs that people have been scamming people with, right? Where they can set those or they're set contests. That's something that should be banned and should be regulated. Also, TikTok, dude, your TikTok, like TikTok's banned in several states. Like I think the state of Montana has banned it, and most governments don't allow. I mean, TikTok, man, you're gonna use TikTok. Also, Eric, I appreciate you, but dude, you don't know breaking. You really don't. It again, I appreciate the author of this article, but you get some really interesting resources to quote this. Now, bringing Paul Lesko in, very interesting attorney, well respected. We in the hobby know him, and I agree with him. I've said this before. I'm not debating the fact it's illegal. Okay, what I will debate is the fact that any platforms banned it. Okay, and I'm going to debate the fact that it's evil and it's all that stuff. It's not. It's good. Breaking's very good for the hobby. In fact, I think Leighton makes a comment that breaking saved the hobby. No, 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 no. I would say the hobby made breaking, but the hobby would be fine without breaking. And again, people were breaking as friends, as collectors, way before it became commercialized. Here's what bothers me, and I apparently missed the first one already. Here's a comment. You either spend $200 in a box or $20 for a slot in that break. That makes absolutely no sense. So I agree, because think about this. $200 and 20 would be 10. What are you, there's no 10 teams in a box, right? So you're looking at 30, you're spending 30 at $20. The math does not add up. There's another instance, I can't find it. I took a note here. And the instance was Leighton says, well, a box costs you $1,000, or with 30 teams, you can get into it for $50 a team. And I thought to myself, did the author not just simply do the math? Well, that's $1,500, man. Why? Right? Because I'm just making sure, like, 30 times 5 is 1,500, right? So, dude, why are you charging $500 to open the box? See, this is the thing that's bothered me. Remember, I told you I started using Leighton because they had the best prices back in the day. And here's the truth. Back in the day, Leighton got boxes at allocated prices, and he would price his breaks at suggested retail prices. So me as a consumer, I felt like I was getting a deal. And let me kind of break that down for you. I want to be a little slower here. If a box was, let's say it was $200, prison box is $200. Leighton was getting them for $40 a box. He could then build a break, right, with a case where it has 12 boxes, so it's $1,200 in value. He'd price the break, even the PYTs, where it'd be at 1,100 or even at 1,200. And he'd be like, dude, I'm selling this to you at cost, and I'm going to break it for you and ship it to you. I'm putting my top loaders. And then me as a consumer is like, dude, that seems like a deal. I'm paying the same I would pay if I went to Blowout. I get my team and I'm good. Now, again, that's back when Leighton had allocated prices. He still has allocated prices. What he did, though, is he's moved up now to market price. And this is something that, this is why breakers need to get their hands slapped. This is why they're unregulated gambling casinos that have gotten greedy, taking too much money out of the pot. Okay, because we're not buying, we as a consumer, I want to buy the product at the suggested retail price, not at the last idiot's price. What I mean by that, just because one last idiot paid $5,000 for a box does not mean every box is worth $5,000. I'm willing to wait till the next idiot comes around and buys it for $2,000 again. Okay. And then let's figure out the box price. And that is what disgusts me the most with breaking. Okay. And that's what they hide in this crap here. Leighton doesn't talk about that. Dude, the $1,000 box that you're selling me, 30 slots at $50, you didn't pay $1,000 for. Don't lie to me and tell me you did. Now, again, I appreciate the fact you're going to box it and ship it and put it in top loaders and all that stuff, but just don't tell it what it is. And this is why, in my opinion, the future is when Fanatics can put all these goddamn middlemen out of business. They're not adding any value. They add zero value. They don't, not even honest with you about what you're breaking or what you're getting. They'll tell you everything goddamn good and everything's goddamn boom. Everything's moist, everything's hot, everything's nasty patch, everything's sick, everything's great, but they're full of shit. They also know, and there's another thing that they want to tell you, is breakers have a revolving door of customers. If customers that come in, and of the 100 that come in, 10 will stay. 90 are going to churn because they get eaten like they're going through a casino. They put their dollars in, they lose, and they leave. And you know that. You know you're running a casino. You know from your business you're running a casino. Some other notes here I want to make sure I don't forget. Oh, they make some comments down here comparing the valuations of LeBron James's 19 or 2018 Lakers card and the Mahomes rookie card. That bothers me, man. again, one of these articles, when you're comparing LeBron James, because so the card was at $500, now it's 25 cents. Yeah, because it never should have been a $500 card. Now, the Patrick Mahomes card that was $500 and now is $5,000, that's a rookie of a guy who's got a limited card who, by the way, has won 2 Super Bowls. I'm into 3. So this the article ends with the story about Mr. Layton. And I'm not, I don't want to take any personal shots here. Congratulations on your achievements in life. It's great that you're making so much money. I just think that, again, you and I both know that you are taking advantage of people. You don't add value, right? You're opening cards, man. Your hands don't make the cards hot. The Luca didn't come to you. You're right. There are no, another thing talks about is hot boxes. You're right. You didn't get a hot box and like, hey, send it to Leighton because he's such a great guy. Rich Leighton is also, guys, the guy involved in Heroes of Sports, right? I think that was mentioned by the sports card radio guys. This guy would sell anything in a box break that he can make money off of. I'm not kidding you. You can put it in a box break, he'll sell it. He doesn't care. He does anything he can to make a profit off of someone else. And again, there's business. I understand business, but his is a very interestingly, I'll leave it at that, business. Okay. Like your thoughts, comments. You tell me what you think. But again, if you read the article, those are my takeaways. Total misrepresentation shows you the greed that is in the breaking community. And again, I look forward to all this to come crashing down in the future. Not sports cards. The chubby, lazy people not doing anything in sports cards, but making tons of money. Does it make sense? Well, that makes sense.